Parched, thirsty, and hungry, I was walking on a not-so-populated route to the private hostel where I stayed. My parents didn't know that I had left my college hostel, and I was targeted for questioning the authority about the in-hospital environment at the hostel. That I didn't have enough to feed myself and find I could stay outside. And I was walking that eternally long stretch of unmanned road under the glory of a fully beaming midday sun, trying to seek refuge in a stall. Luck favored me to find a place at a missionary-run hostel, which was kind enough to offer me a neat room at almost half the price, slashing food and in exchange for helping memory-challenged kids it housed. The kids were invariably kind, loving, and submissive, drawing a tiny, beautiful patch of time in my book of life. One of them still shines in my memory, a black pearl. Her smile made me feel like the heavens descending. A perfect mixture of innocence, love, and purity. I wonder what time has made them into. Most of the money I was given went into paying the hostel fees. I'd hardly have $100 left. Commutation and food were still hanging in the air. And like the usual ones, this hostel was situated in a slightly bizarre location. It was at an edge of a slum. Underprivileged people dwelled there. I dwelled there too, underprivileged. While I was well dressed and not looking impoverished, at least in the beginning. I was counting on every single coin I had. I was an expert liar, but lying for money felt unethical. I lied to my parents about my exam results. The rest of the facts remained hidden. I was anxious about letting a lie grow into a cheat. So I opted to squeeze my life through this constricted zone of time. Thanks to the heavens, I could still revel in penury. Every penny mattered, and every penny less designed my persona. Sometimes I'd get down at a stop before mine, for that would be all I could afford. I'd walk that lonely, notorious parched stretch in the flashy daylight, and at the protection of those unknown graces I received from nowhere I knew. Thanks to them, I wasn't interrupted by anything external or internal. Being rebellion is a costly affair, and I was physically and mentally affluent to afford it. Smells have had the strongest power to drag me back to those times I romanced them the most, knowingly or unknowingly. The scent of cardamom is one such muse. With all I could secure, I could buy a big loaf of bread, cardamom flavored. 22 rupees. I'd live on 3 slices in the morning and with water for the rest of the day, each day. Days passed. My skin started to shrink. The corners of my eyes pronounced them the most. I began to grow anemic, lost more hair, and my toenails started to peel off in layers. I went pale. But these were not evident to the onlookers. A few at college praised my fair skin. One even asked me for the recipe. Not wanting to reveal that, I signed off with a smile. Life started to become more interesting. I suddenly felt like gaining a vision of things I hardly noticed and never experienced. Some facts refashioned. Hunger was the first in the row. It wasn't the same that used to drive me crazy and throw me cranky, even though I could avail food the very moment. It kept me stoic and made me a silent observer, despite the long way and knowing that it would again be the same 3 slices of bread to feast. Resistance and resilience seemed mandatory to wage the internal war. However, there were too many things for diversion. A rare green canopy, the silence of the slum, a sleeping dog by the side of a road, a poor mother heading out without footwear, carrying a child wearing footwear, a lonely Mother Mary in a tiny residence, and a radio plugged into my ears, my constant companion. The war was still on as I reached the hostel, and I slept it off, giving it a final blow. Though I spreed in solitude, reaping classic introspective moments, I hardly shunned an occasional invite. I was among the party of 5 who ventured out to somewhere we weren't quite sure about. Every excuse is valid on a holiday. While heading back, it was about noon, and we stopped at a small tea shop opposite our hostel door. It was pretty tiny and perfectly poor man's choice. The old wooden benches and the thatched roof ornated the atmosphere with a rustic vintage demeanor, making me feel at home. The 2 women running the shop were mother and daughter. They also served homemade sweets and savories. One of us seemed to know them already. After exchanging casual pleasantries, they discussed the hot-selling items on the shop's menu. The older woman offered us some raw plantain fritters. We took 1 each, but she took no money. I was hesitant and uncomfortable to eat the rest of what I had until one of us pressed some money into her hands. Another one was sulking at the hostel food. I wondered what the food was even like. The lady offered to sell us lunch if needed, and those words lingered in my head. Instincts. It was a Sunday afternoon. The world around was feasting. Unbothered by that, I was one of those creatures that rested on the lap of a tall tree. Ants, bugs, small, big, black, brown, black and brown, dried leaves and dried me. Up against the white sky, the leaves blazed green, spreading the hue like a mild aurora to the world below. I fantasized about looking down from there at me. A poor sight for the tree, a rich treat for me. I felt more blessed than the tree, and the curve widened on my lips. I had just added a period to my declaration, and my phone screamed in objection, reminding me to reconsider that. It was from the heavenly hell gifted by the heavens, my sibling. That tiny beast knows the perfect recipe to make still waters turbulent. She asked me what I was doing. While I was preparing what to tell her, she had already launched the missile. She started rapping about her boisterous dinner with family and friends the previous night. She elaborated on every item and how great it tasted. She was expecting a drama. Back in the day, I'd even sneaked away with my friends from an ongoing class to eat out at a restaurant several miles from my college. But now, I'm no more the same will at the bend of the wind. To stay contained doesn't require an effort. Perhaps time laid the first milestone of maturity. I smiled and replied unagitated. Disappointed and peeved, she cut the call. The storm passed and still rained. No music, no voices. I tried to wheel back to the interrupted scene. It was a moment shrouded by the monocracy of stillness. As the clouds were clearing, something was passively blooming in my head. A few more episodes of voluntarily walking the extra mile rendered me the luck to secure 20 rupees. Someone switched on the Saki slides inside. In all these days, this was the highest we secured. I was starting to feel luxurious, and the first thing I wanted to buy was food. I hoped for a small packet of lunch which would cost around 15 rupees. After almost a month of surviving on 3 slices of bread a day, I was finally ready to taste some real food. My aspiration was so akin to that of a beggar. I remember the lady at the tea shop. My heart was already set on a carousel going rounds of merry. I had a 10 rupee note and the rest were all coins. I gathered all of them and almost dashed to the shop. But there was none. My heart almost suffered an attack. The shop was closed. I knew the woman would be in the area around the shop, but my apprehensions were about the availability of food. I surmised that I was going to walk back singing melancholy, but that's when a stranger directed me to the lady's house. I was at a doorstep. She showed up. I reintroduced my insignificant self and asked her if she had any packet of food left. She asked me to wait. I was convinced I would at least get some remains to satiate my long hunger. But to the contrary, she showed up and crushed all my expectations. She held a huge packet of rice weighing more than half a kilo and another packet of gravy that would suffice for 3 adults. She wasn't done yet. She asked me to wait for the side dish. It was a double omelette. I grew gloomier looking at the packets. She just vacuumed the luxury out of the 20 rupees and drove me back to Poppadom. Once again, I felt I would miss the food. I was growing anxious as she got everything packed. I couldn't cancel or tell her I would pay the rest later. I hated to be indebted. I was equally scared that an excuse like that could annoy her. She gave me the food packets. Loaded with shame, I was hardly extending my arm, hesitant to tender the money. I expected the worst, shivering inside. But she was never within the bounds of my expectations. She gracefully accepted the money and said it was precisely the cost of it. I was dunked into a sea of surprises. I thanked her briefly and left the place. I ran to the dining with two things stuck in my mind: her gesture and the food. Neither of them felt real. I opened the packet restlessly, still thinking of her. I poured the thick gravy on the hot rice. I touched the food, felt the heat. It had been a while since I touched anything warm. I still remember it. The launch of the soft white rice wedded to the luscious gravy landed on my tongue. A million chemicals started pumping inside. I closed my eyes and my soul hit the heavens and rebounded. Finally, the eyes pumped out their part. I couldn't consume much. The emotions felt the most. I shared the food with other inmates who whined about the tasteless lunch. I was busy thinking about her. Then on, she started offering food 3 times a day. I frequented her shop every time I secured a sum. She always ensured I was given at least double the order and took only what I had. Sometimes, even before I could order, she would await me with a big parcel of love. I couldn't understand. Somehow the phrase "to take pity" has always been suggestive of serving the poor. But I always stood out from the crowd there. My appearance and outfits never aligned with my down and out situation. What did she find in me? They say humans are molded by their environment. But she hailed from a slum, where it is very natural for one to expect a hand from those that seem above their standards of life. What does it take for someone from there to look beyond the facade, breach the surface, and reach the soul? Maybe she was too different of a material. Maybe she wasn't human enough. Or maybe it's not a maybe, but she was an angel. And this angel guarded me in distress.